You have a cat named
Naz Reid.
Naz Reid.
The all-star team is left. Oh, and now dribble. Oh, my goodness, Naz Reid.
2 words for you. Naz Reid.
Naz Reid, that's it.
I know this crowd is special to you.
Naz Reid on 3. Naz Reid.
He's better than a lot of people think, so yeah, he's gonna show you this year.
I'm only 24. I'm just getting started.
Anything you want to tell him for the upcoming season?
Stay with us. It's gonna get crazy this year.
Nazrion Hilton Reid was raised in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and attended Roselle Catholic High School in Roselle, New Jersey. Growing up in a football family, Naz didn't start playing organized basketball until 7th grade, but by the time high school had come around, it was his primary sport. He clearly had a natural gift because by the time he was a senior in high school, he was a 5-star recruit, ranked as the 22nd best player in his class by 247 Sports, and would eventually commit to Louisiana State University. Due to both his unique style of play, being a big man but playing like a guard, and also growing up during peak high school basketball social media days, Naz really made a name for himself before he ever stepped foot on the LSU campus. He was very closely linked to Jelly Fam and even had the nickname Big Jelly. Naz would go on to play just one season at LSU, averaging 13.6 points per game and 7.2 rebounds, and would help take his third seed LSU Tigers to the Sweet 16, where they would lose to Michigan State. Projected to be a lottery pick when he first came to LSU in the summer of 2018, he would go on to have a very disappointing combine, most notably weighing in at 256 pounds and 14% body fat, being the only player at the NBA combine with a body fat percentage above 10%. And on draft night, the unthinkable happened. Naz Reid would go undrafted, a unlikely fall from grace for a player of such high caliber coming out of high school. The Minnesota Timberwolves would sign him to a 2-way contract as an undrafted free agent in the summer of 2019. Naz would play the first portion of his rookie season with the Timberwolves G League affiliate, the Iowa Wolves, and in just 16 games, he would impress, averaging 18.4 points per game and 9.9 rebounds. After a Karl-Anthony Towns injury that had him sidelined, Naz would get his first chance at the NBA level. He would play the rest of his rookie season with the Wolves, averaging 9 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and starting in 11 games. And that 30-game opportunity that Naz got as a rookie, he would never give back. After a strong sophomore season, averaging 11 points per game on 52.3% from the field and in only 19 minutes per game, Naz would come into his third season in the NBA in the best shape of his life, weighing only 237 pounds. And although he would have somewhat of a down season in his third NBA season, playing the least amount of minutes he had ever played and scoring only 8.3 points per game, it would be his fourth regular season, which was last year, where he would really start to show how far he had come from being undrafted. Once the Wolves lost Karl-Anthony Towns to a serious left calf strain in November, Naz would get his opportunity at extended minutes. And although it still wasn't every game, when he was getting 25, 30, 35 minutes a game, he was scoring at an incredible rate. By the time March came around and the Wolves were battling for a playoff position, Naz was playing some of the best basketball of his career during a 4-game winning streak for the Timberwolves, including 26 points versus Atlanta and 23 points in a must-win game at Golden State. After putting up 18 points in 20 minutes versus the Kings and already having 15 points in just 23 minutes versus the Phoenix Suns, Naz would go up to try to dunk on Bismack Biyombo and come down directly on his wrist. He would stay in the game and shoot both of his free throws, but get subbed out quickly afterwards. And unfortunately, after some x-rays were taken, it was found out that Naz Reid had suffered a fractured wrist and was out for the rest of the season, which is a real shame because I feel like at this point, Naz Reid was one of the best hidden secrets in the NBA, and the basketball world deserved to see his brilliance in a playoff series. But now here we are in his 5th season in the NBA at still just 24 years old, and he is currently having, by and large, the greatest season of his career. He's currently averaging a career-high 13.5 points per game and is in the 50-40-90 club with 50.8% from the field, 40% from 3, and 92% from the free throw line. And this is all the while still only playing 22 minutes per game. Keep in mind, Naz Reid is playing with 2 all-NBA caliber centers in Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns. So what's almost more impressive than his play itself is him being able to be that valuable to the Timberwolves and get on the floor as a backup center who has fought his way into a 6-man role. And if you watch him play extensively, you would see that if he was playing anywhere else, he's averaging 20 to 22 points points per game with serious minutes. Actually, just 2 nights ago, he had 27 points with a career high 7 threes, going 7 for 11 from 3. And Luka had this to say about him in the post-game presser.
I think that was one X factor. REID, he's an amazing player, man, and he hurt us today, so he's been hoping.
But what was maybe even more impressive is what Chris Finch had to say after the game, which was that he did all of this within the flow of their offense and having no specific plays called for him. Check out this hezzy he had on Wemby just a week ago and this in and out he had later in that game. I could seriously just roll highlights from this season alone of Naz Reid that you probably haven't seen before. Every single season he's added more to his game, and he's at the point now in his 5th season where he is a very complete offensive player. He can score in the post. He finishes very well with his left hand. He's shooting 40% from 3. He has one of the best in and out dribbles in the NBA, and to move like he does and as quick as he does at 6'9" truly makes him one of the most unique players in the NBA at the moment. But maybe the most interesting part about Naz Reid is how much of an icon he has become to the Minnesota Timberwolves fan base. This is a guy who came in to one of the worst franchises in North American sports history as an undrafted free agent with 0 expectations, who they've seen just blossom before their eyes. The level of love that the Timberwolves fan base has for Naz Reid is almost unmatched anywhere else, to the point where it is an inside joke within the Wolves fan base to just say 2 words, Naz Reid. So much so that Jaden McDaniels reportedly walks by him every time in the locker room and just says Naz Reid, monotone with no other expression. And the Timberwolves ownership understood this. Glenn Taylor, Alex Rodriguez, and Mark Lowry all agreed they had to re-sign Naz Reid this summer. Naz wanted to stay in Minnesota and was able to agree to a team-friendly deal of 3 years, $42 million, which made every Timberwolves fan in Minnesota breathe a sigh of relief. Austin Rivers had a quote that I thought was super interesting. He said, "I had no idea till I played here that he was this good, but I knew in training camp, like after the first day, I called my father, I called a whole bunch of people this entire season. I was like, yo, this dude is like a big time player, like a starting 5. What's crazy to me is somehow Naz Reid is not even in the top 10 for 6th man of the year odds on FanDuel. He's sitting at 11th at plus 5,000. He's also having pretty easily his best season on the defensive end as well. And according to NBA.com, he is 6th in the entire NBA in defensive rating. The Wolves barely play in any nationally televised games this year, which is a huge L from Adam Silver and the league office. But when they do, I highly encourage you, if you are an NBA fan, to tune in. Naz Reid's only going to be on the court for about 20 to 22 minutes, but when he's on there, tune in. He's super fun to watch and truly one of the most unique and iconic players in the NBA today. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you'll enjoy the video I made on how the OKC Thunder's rebuild is somehow just beginning. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you on the hardwood.